Welcome. It's your aftermarket show here.
We did it.
I am not Shawn Katina unless something drastic has changed. I don't know what's up there. There you go. What's up? We're going to be getting some earnings coming through here right away. We're expecting Carvana, we're expecting Etsy, we're expecting Qualcomm, and we're expecting DoorDash, or the big ones aftermarket before we tee it up. There's a lot to get into because the markets did so much. And then, of course, we had Fed as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to have this discussion. We're waiting for Qualcomm coming right at 4. Just checking the times on everything here. We get Qualcomm at 4, DoorDash at 4:05, along with Etsy.
So I got Qualcomm
eBay.
already moving. You let me know when you have the actual numbers, but Qualcomm already up $8 after market here off a gorgeous breakout here through 170. So you've got a good percent move. Remember, it's early. We saw what happened with Amazon, where it was dipsy-do. It was up, it was down, around and around. So you do want to be careful here, but it looks like Qualcomm
I have the numbers, yeah.
So what do we have here for Qualcomm?
So we do have a beat here. Q2 revenue, $9.39 billion versus $9.34 billion expected. So beat $9.39 billion versus $9.34 billion expected. Let's see, for earnings per share, $2.44 adjusted versus the expected $2.32. So that is a beat as well for earnings per share. They're also nice move up here as well for these estimates. They did beat estimates across the board here. So they're seeing a Q3 sales of $9.2 billion. $2.25 per share for the EPS. So the expected was $9.05 billion and $2.17 per share. So beat across the board, higher than expected estimates here for QCOM.
Yeah, and great look. And the thing you remember for Qualcomm is it's a good barometer for like the Apples of the world. So if you've been worried about Apple trying to catch some bids in there, it's Qualcomm's holding on to 170. It has pulled back a little bit in the aftermarket, but remember, this was a stock that was down today. Just come to the 3-minute chart if we can for a second. This is a stock that, like everything else, dumped into the close. So you had the Powell pump, you had the Powell post-podium dump, and that was down into 164. So I feel like that might have aided the move a little bit. I always try to remember the context. If you drop this far, it's kind of flattish if you're hanging out in the 67, 68 range on Qualcomm. Some of the other ones that we're looking out for, DoorDash, again, a lot of things dumped at the end of the day. It's barely moving just yet. My personal, this could be the insane one, is going to be Carvana, and we have nothing yet out on Carvana. I feel like that's the one I'm the most excited for. Yes, Etsy is also reporting, everybody. But if they've already reported, nothing has happened. It looks like Qualcomm is going to be your stock du jour, still trading to the upside. I do like what I see here. I said Apple, let's double check it. Apple not catching too much of a bid. You saw Shawn short that one into the end of the day. Sometimes you get a little bit of sympathy, and I don't wonder if they have to digest this one, maybe get a little more granular, especially with the guidance with Qualcomm before there's any reaction over there in Apple. But just a quick question for you, because I know, and I heard Shawn say it, and the first thing that came to my mind was, this is the first time you got to actually live trade a Fed number.
Yeah, this is, to be clear as well, I was not trading during the FOMC conference. I traded into it on the midday how to trade desk. But I will say there is a very different type of trading that occurs leading up to the Fed number. And so I was very happy to be able to take advantage of that. I was talking to Obi as well in the kitchen about the flip that we had from short to long heading into that Fed number. And that was very cool to trade live, seeing how you have to adapt your levels and maybe even flip what you were using to short off of. Maybe now you use that as support to go long. So that was really fun to witness in a live setting.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. And we say this before, like a lot of traders, when they trade the first time, like, are you going to be trading on a Fed day or not? Some people will sit it out. Early traders, when they're trainees on the floor, sometimes won't even trade the first 5 minutes until it settles down, and then they work themselves into it. So getting the mental reps, or at least observing it and getting an idea of how it moves, it lets you put those trades on. All you had to do was pick one spot. Obviously, and we said it before, like a lot of things faded there off of that top, but you had to find something that suited you, that fit you, that is a trade that you were going to take, and that's all that did matter. Still waiting here. I mean, look, I want to see Carvana, but DoorDash is now tanking. It's in a mad dash to the downside. Tyreek Hill style. It's cheated to the downside. So we have numbers out on DoorDash. Obviously, it's getting destroyed, down 14% DoorDash. That's not going to necessarily be good for Uber, which is already under some pressure. A little bit of a bounce here, but it looks like we have numbers on DoorDash.
Yeah, Dash lower than expected here. So net income, they lost 25 million versus the expected loss of 23.5 billion. So that is a miss here. Revenue for Q1, 2.5 billion versus 2.45 billion expected. So slight revenue beat here. It's the same as what we saw last earnings report with DoorDash. Revenue beat, but EPS miss. So it seems like they're repeating that again. I'm not seeing their guidance yet here, but apparently they're seeing quarterly profit below estimate. So I'm going to find exactly what that guidance was, but EPS miss, revenue beat.
So at the end of the day, I mean, it's a bit mixed, but they're getting punished for it. They're back to 9% down from 14, but just to keep in mind, look at the daily chart on DoorDash. It's going to line up gorgeously if it continues to the downside, where the 200 period on the daily is going to sit at basically $100. That would be an obvious SSR bounce play if it even sneaks down there. We've seen outsized moves. When it comes to earnings season, you never want to take anything for granted as to how far things can go down. Just ask SMCI that. We know where this can happen. The other name that we are looking for, Etsy. It was never my intention to poo-poo on Etsy. That wasn't really what I was getting at. I think as a trading vehicle, it's a little bit different from what we normally look at. But Etsy to the downside, $10 at the worst. It's bouncing a little bit here, so Etsy numbers are out. It is down. It's now only 8%, but it was about 12 or 13% to the downside on Etsy. eBay also was out. Wasn't really as interested in them. But you are looking at misses on Etsy, miss on DoorDash. It's Qualcomm that's going to hold the crown aftermarket here today. As even with everything pulling back in, Qualcomm is going to retake some of those Powell highs. It's giving some back in here, but I do like that 170 and what it's been able to do. And if you're just looking for that higher time frame, which we should always do on Qualcomm, the key bounce here is holding on to 170 means holding above the 50 period on the daily. So that's an important level. This is like any other stock in tech space was hugging the 50 and then rejecting it. Reject, reject, reject. A close above would be key. Any failure under 166 is a big deal for Qualcomm because that would be rejecting this push back into the upside. So I just wanted to get into a little bit of a quick review here because we got the earnings plays in there. I still actually haven't seen Carvana. Let me just double check.
I think it was supposed to come out at 410 from what I'm seeing.
We have some time here. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Qualcomm is the big one. Carvana, obviously, with a gigantic short float of like 30%, that would be a biggie. But we're still waiting on that number. You know what? Some of these markets that we weren't paying attention to because it was a Fed day, worth noting, you had a big run on uranium up 3% today. I think that was pretty good. Gold doesn't necessarily surprise me. It was up a point today. Energy got shellacked, down 1.5, just doing some housekeeping here for you guys. Yeah. But those are the things that stood out to me. I mean, uranium's been pretty resilient. A little surprised. Energy was down maybe a little more than I was anticipating at the 1.5%. But I feel like I'm really anticipating Carvana because I know Max, one of our traders, with a 30% short float and the recent moves that this stock has had, I just think it's got an absolute squeeze. I mean, the fact that it could squeeze through 95 as a top and potentially press 100, you don't get opportunities at breakouts at 95 and 100 on squeeze stocks. Those are very big round numbers that traders just get excited about. Yeah. Whether we can get it, I don't know, but they're not out just yet. We'll have to be patient with that. We're going to have the Fibonacci princess coming through. There's a lot to go over. I know she's going to be interested in talking a little about AMD and some plays she has post-earnings. Yeah. But just a question for you on, like, what's your approach? Because I know immediately the first thing that stood out to me on the earnings we've got so far might be that DoorDash and the 50 period moving average the 200 period moving average at 100. It's the only thing that stood out. Do you mark off levels? Do you not care? Because I like to set things up in my head.
Yeah, I think I will be honest, I probably should mark off levels more than I do. I think a lot of what I do as well, because I mostly trade during that midday period, I like to do intraday scalps. And if we get an intraday scalp opportunity and a range off of a previously interesting level, that's when things get really interesting to me. So I remember probably a couple months ago now, NVIDIA 727 to 724 for a couple days kept being interesting. So it's like if a level will repeat itself on an intraday basis over and over, then I think it shows more confluence. But I think I do have to be better about doing this this charting in advance as well, in addition to just my midday moves?
Well, I think it just happened.
We did.
We just got to 95 on Carvana, so we joked about 95 and 100 on a squeeze. It looks like they are out. We'll get the numbers to you when they happen.
It's a revenue
I see
beat.
your revenue beat for Carvana. $100 just got taken out. There it goes. Bye-bye, and right back in at 97. So it does tag that $100 level. Fresh highs for a brief couple of seconds here at least, as the 30% short float has the shorts absolutely crying right now, as it's right through that 52-week high on Carvana. Wow, it's going to be nasty for some shorts. I bet you they're running to the hills at this moment. If it opens tomorrow above $100, and there's going to be some stops that are going to get run there. What are the numbers out here?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we have adjusted EBITDA almost double what was expected here, 235 million versus the estimate of 124.6 million, and a revenue beat 3.061 billion versus expected 2.673 billion. So that is a pretty significant revenue beat as well. Not seeing the EPS, but those numbers on their own are very strong. We do have an expected move of 16% based on what I was seeing for the options.
Well, if you like 16%, then I think 26 is not that bad either. But of course, that's from yesterday's close. I mean, if you look at the move is insane here. If it can hold up, you have an outsized move. You've got the $100 level. You've got a 30% float. Now, I get it. I don't want to hear anyone talking about the fundamentals of the company when you're trading as a day trader. Sometimes you just have to follow it. I'm not here to tell you that this is going to be a great long in your long-term account, but I'm here to tell you the shorts are panicking. Now, 30% to the upside and still going higher on Carvana. We had an inkling that this was going to be the one. The fact that it's holding up 108 here is going to be absolutely insane. So a ridiculous earnings day. Weirdly enough, it's Carvana that gives you the big move to the upside, and unfortunately for Etsy and DoorDash, peace out. The excitement's over there in Carvana. We're going to have you guys let me know when we're ready, because I know we did the review very quickly, but on earnings day, I wanted to make sure we got CVNA in there. I'm really excited to talk to Tammy for the first time for myself, the Fibonacci princess, because Fibonacci's are something that to very limited to basically no success, which I can admit to everybody else, or something I dabbled in, because I used to do a lot of penny stock trading when I started trading.
Okay.
And it was kind of a thing when you would kind of look for ranges, when something would break out of a range, and it's like this is a nothing company. You're just looking for levels that you can take profit and where you can get back in on dip buys. And so Fibonacci's were something that I tried to use, and I just never really had any success with it. I just kept going back to the basics of what was working for me, like support and resistance. So I'm pretty excited to talk to Tammy, and we're going to talk some shop here. Am I supposed to hit the Trader Talk button? Yes? Fabian says no. Ramin says yes. So let's get right on into it. Thank you very much there, Tammy. It's a pleasure to finally get a chance to talk to you. I've seen you on the Aftermarket show several times here. It's an absolute pleasure. How was your day? And what?
To meet you, Neil. I'm so glad to be able to be on with you and get to talk to you and get to know you.
Well, appreciate it. So let's try to jump right into it, because I mean I could probably have you on here and ask you about execution strategies for Fibonacci's, but I think everyone wants to hear what you're looking at right now. It's been a big earnings week. Clearly, we don't get Apple till tomorrow and Amazon, but we've had Amazon, AMD, right now Carvana doing ridiculous things. What's on your radar, and what are you most interested in look for trades, and maybe just for technical setups too?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I really don't personally trade earnings that much unless I decide I just want to do a lotto ticket on something, because what we say with our work is that our work is a crapshoot when it comes to earnings, because levels can be sliced right through like butter when it comes to earnings. Otherwise, our work works great. But, and you know, what I love to use our work for is run into earnings. But what I say is, unless you want to sit through earnings, and I tell you to get out before earnings. So,
you know what I love about that?
That's kind of how we are.
No, what I actually really love about that, Tammy, is we say, this is a phrase that we like to say, it's called like stay in your lane.
Yes.
So, well, and as a trader, like today, when we're trading the Fed, you know, I've basically been shorting Intel pretty much every single day for a while now, and it's like, okay, what's the stock I went to when the market started ripping that I felt good about the short end that I would take against the grain? So that's the one I was fading off of a level. And if you're a scalp trader, scalp trade. And if you're a technical trader, then you trade the technicals. Well, the problem with earnings, as you said, is things go helter-skelter. And if you're looking for technical setups and all that goes out the window at the moment, then you can go before or after. So just can we walk through like.
Exactly. And I love what you said right before I came on, which was you found what worked for you. So that is what I have to tell people all the time. They'll say, hey, what do? You know, what works for you? And I'm like, listen, it is such a personal thing to find the pieces of the puzzle to your trading plan. And you have to figure out what works for you because we can find things that work for each other. But for the most part, it takes years and fine tuning to figure out what your trading style is and what your trading plan is going to look like.
So speaking of that trading plan, I always went back and forth. I mean, the reason I didn't have success, I think, and this is just my estimation as to why when I was early penny stock trading, I had no success using fibs, is I wasn't really consistent in trying to find a way to deploy them. Essentially, I would just take any stock that broke the range I traded it in. If I was range trading it for a week, it breaks that range. I'd be like, okay, plot it. That day, there's the bottom, there's the top. And either it works the next day setting it up, and if it didn't work that day, I didn't look at it again.
Right. And the thing is what I like to say about Fibonacci is it's a great tool in your toolbox. You know, you want to have, you know, when you have a toolbox, there are some essentials you have to have. You have to have a hammer, a screwdriver, flathead, and Phillips. You know, there's certain things that you have in every toolbox that you have to have. And this is one of those main tools that you want to have in your toolbox.
Yeah, and that's the key. So, okay, so walk me through, what's the name? I know AMD is the one that's sticking out in my mind because you mentioned something about running into levels. Into earnings, I should say. Now, I mean, running can go both ways. This is a stock that ran heavily to the downside into earnings. So obviously, it's got a bit of a trend trade into it on the daily chart. Now, I know post earnings, maybe you look for reversals, that kind of thing. But this was clear. Like there was one stop in there where if I was like for myself, when a stock does this, and can we just quickly go back to my daily? When a stock does this, pulls back, and then into earnings, you get this reversal off of the 50-period moving average. Like at that point, I'm like biased short, as a day trader, biased short side. So in this consolidation, it's like short this top in there every chance you get it, 170. It makes another step down. It's like try to short those. But those are all day trades. Like you're in, you're out. You're not really capturing a move. So on a move into earnings, like it's very different swing trading to day trading because you kind of just come in, if I prefer the short trade, okay, find a short setup. It could be shorting a previous day high. It could be a gap and go strategy. It could be just a breakdown of a particular key level. It could present itself in one of many ways. So once you have maybe a direction on a stock, what are you really looking for maybe that entry point when it's already trending?
Okay, so for me, with AMD in particular, what I would be looking for is a short sell setup, okay? And I would be looking for symmetry and retracements or extensions coming together to form. The cluster is a very strong area because it has 3 or more Fibonacci price relationships that come together. Okay, so you were saying about something about the 50, so you come down, 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 you get that pop, and we're looking for something up into that pop. So this more recent pop that we've had, okay, we would have price resistance from some of these, previous swings here. Then you would have, almost like a little 2-step pattern there. And then you're going to have an extension up there. You're going to look at I'm sorry, I'm going so fast, but this is, kind of how I do it. But some retracements that are going to come together. We could even look at that overall high to low. And I'm talking about that previous low where you could have shorted from the 19th of April. And you've got a little area here anywhere from, 159, 161. That is a great area that includes symmetry, retracements, extensions, and it defines your risk. That is what I do. That's what the Fibonacci Princess does. I help you control your risk by giving you a defined zone, and you can say, hey, if it breaks this zone, then I'm out and I have a minimal loss. So that's what I like to look at.
You know what I love about that? And don't worry about, oh, you're going too fast. I think everyone knows in trading, Shawn and I are talking all day long trades, and I find the longer you've been in it, yeah, you know, it comes to you quickly, you just talk your own language. Anyone can always watch it back. But I think the most important, you said two really important things. I don't want to pick and choose which one's more important there, but finding an area where you can be confident about the risk and where you know, hey, if it breaks out of here, I'm wrong. Because I find I don't want to be in a trade if I don't know where I'm wrong. I can think the stock is a short to forever, but it's like if I can't find a place to exit the trade, then the problem is I'm not going to exit the trade when I'm wrong. So I definitely love that. And what I love about that is I think that when you do it the process that you just quickly showed us, you then found confluence, which is a term we love to use here, at a particular price level. So it wasn't as if you had one point in there with your strategy. Okay, well, this one line set up. Now I'm seeing where I went wrong with Fibonacci's back in the day, because I would just do it once and then be like, that one didn't work. Let's just move on. No, but you found multiple levels of confluence around that 161. That gives you more confidence in the trade. We cannot say this enough. If you have more than one reason for liking a level, you are going to make more money off that level because you'll put more risk on and feel more comfortable with risk in that price area. So
absolutely, and you should not ever go into a trade until you know what your stop loss is. If you don't know what your stop loss is, then walk away and spend more time studying and developing an effective plan. I mean, it's something that takes time. This is not a, you know, if it was a get-rich-quick scheme, everybody would be doing it, right? This trading takes time. You have to be a professional. And guess what? You have to be able to play in the major leagues. You're trading against the major league baseball player traders, if you want to talk sports talk, which I love sports.
You are already now in my, like, okay, so fine, you were here, but now you've taken it to a whole another level. I'm a huge baseball fan. I love the fact you made a sports reference, but the fact that it was even baseball. Okay, Tammy, if you're ever in Toronto, I'm taking you to a Jays game.
Hey, listen, I want to come. I'm actually wanting to come and visit y'all. And so we really need to look at that because my husband's been trading for over 35 years. Y'all would love him. He's amazing. So we would love to come and visit y'all.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, traders love talking shop, and it's baseball. What I love about baseball is you can sit there, you can enjoy the game, and you get good conversation, and it's that like family sort of chill atmosphere, and you get the excitement to go with it. You're obviously not going to be.
Don't forget the beer and the hot dogs.
The beer and the dog is the way to go. Although the last time I was at a Jays game, it was like, really? Am I really spending $50? They had this like maple. So it was opening. They had a special maple bacon hot dog that was like a new thing they have at the Dome because, you know, with Canada and maple. So they charge way too much. It's not even a foot long. It was this big, and it was like $30, which was not a very good value, but I was going to eat it anyways because I'm a sucker. But let's go back for just one quick second back into training.
It's a man's foot long.
It wasn't even close to a foot long. If I'm paying $30, it should at least be a foot long hot dog. I'm a value type of person. Like I think in trading, it's the same thing too. Like if I can find two setups and one of them gives me just a little bit better risk to reward, you know exactly which one I'm putting on in that particular sense. But I do want to jump really back to something that you said there about it. You said like your husband's trading 35 years. First off, congratulations. Like that's that's impressive. Like I'm happy to have been.
He is probably one of. I mean, he's in my mind, of course, but I mean, I really do think he's one of the best options traders in the world. He's unbelievable options trader. He understands the Greeks. He does classes on them. He's awesome.
And like you said, you've got to put the effort in. This is why we bring on guests like you because, you know, at the end of the day, I know I don't know everything. We've had guests that have talked options before. Like the only options trading I've done in my long term, I'll put some covered calls on when I'm feeling a little bearish. That's about it. That's nothing. Essentially, it's like the most basic thing you can do with options, but I don't trade them. And I'm an equity trader only, and I day trade, so you sort of stick to that. And I love the fact that you stay in your lane because there's so much you can grow into just specifically in that lane. Like there's always more you can be doing without having to jump out.
Yes, and the great news is that my work does all of that. You can day trade, you can swing trade, you can trade options, you can trade stocks, you can trade futures, you can do anything with my work. I cover all of that.
Well, that's what I loved about when you have a signal like a Fibonacci, because essentially when you're looking at a 161 on AMD, it gives you a price area that you can trade around. A day trader can use that for multiple day scalping off the same level. A swing trader can enter into that position and then hold it to their heart's desire. You can structure your options trading around that particular setup. So just out of curiosity, and this is just for my own just personal curiosity here. Now, how long did it take you to sort of refine, because you literally just went through, this is the perfect level in AMD, and that took you, in the analysis, what, five seconds? Maybe 10 seconds as you were going through that. Now, I'm going to imagine at some point when you were developing, these are the levels I'm going to look at to slap the fibs on. How long did that take you just to put that work in, just so that people don't get the idea like this happened overnight and you were able to sort of pick these levels on AMD?
Well, for me, I think in general, it probably would take somebody if they were, it just depends on the amount of time you put in it. Because what happened with me is I had a 1-year-old when I met Carolyn Borodin, who is the Fibonacci queen, who is my mentor and I still work with. And I would do this, 1 to 3 hours a day, not consistently, because I had a 1-year-old. And it was a few years later that she ended up, hiring me to start working with her. So it's hard to say. I think that you could get the basic fib work down maybe in a matter of weeks or months if you really put a lot of work into it. But it would have to be something that you were really dedicated to learning. And the reason why, that's why I really think that it's better if you just come to our service, because we've got dynamic trader software that is so clean. And it's a lot harder on some of these trading platforms to run these levels because they're not really clean. And so I'm at Elliott Wave Trader right now in the Fibonacci Markets and Stocks room. It's myself, Carolyn Borodin, who is the Fibonacci queen, and then also our other partner, who is Shannon Fitch. We have a fantastic team over there, and we take really great care of y'all.
That's what I love to see. And it's something we also try to say that around here. It's like, look, at the end of the day, this is not easy. It's going to take a lot of time. And there are going to be tools out there that you can learn from others, because I know I had a few mentors. And obviously, I'm so happy for you that you found one, because I know how important that can be to help you grow. And it's a lot easier to learn from the mistakes and the successes of others and then build on your own journey. It does cut some of that time. It doesn't mean you're not putting in work.
You should have like a board of directors when you're trading,
Well, I like
you should have your own personal board of directors, and it doesn't have to be people you know. It can be people that don't even know you exist, but it's books, it's mentors, it's people that you get their trading strategies, you get their templates, you get their charting, and you use it and you figure out what works for you.
There you go. And thank you so much for joining us, Tammy. I feel like now that I also can see where you are in your socials, if you ever see somebody hitting you up asking you about random levels on Intel stock, it probably wasn't me ever at all. No,
Hey, listen, you can ask me anytime. I'm happy to run a chart for you. Just ask me. I am more than happy to. You get front row service.
I appreciate you so much, Tammy. And I'm not lying about this Toronto thing. I did not know you were a baseball fan. Shawn hadn't mentioned that one yet. But if you are ever in Toronto.
And I also snow ski. I might live in South Georgia on a little tiny island, but I am a big snow skier. I love being in the snow. I love baseball. I love it all.
I'll be the first to admit, my wife loves skiing. I'm not much of a winter sport. I'm a bad Canadian in that regard. I'm not, okay, Dara's giving me a really bad look. I really am not a big skier or skater. It's what? You don't have to.
I'm from like deep winter Canada.
We don't all skate here and ski in
true.
Canada.
That's
I
true.
have skied before to mixed results, and thank goodness at that age there were no cell phones available.
Well, y'all just come down here to St. Simon's Island, Georgia, and come, lay on the beach. Does that sound better?
I mean, that's what's up. You come to Toronto, we'll go to a baseball game, and then I get to chill on the beach down there in Georgia.
Sounds
Thank you
great.
very much, Tammy. Everyone can find you at Trader Tammy, the Fibonacci Princess. I know for sure if we get a bounce in that AMD, that 161, I already liked it a little bit. Now I like it a heck of a lot more. Thank you so much, Sir Tammy. Can't wait to be able to talk to you again.
Okay, thanks. Y'all take care.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Baseball fan, yes. Yes, people like to dog baseball, like baseball's not interesting. Baseball's not fun. This just goes to show. We bring smart people on the show, and then they confirm the things we like to hear. No, but it was really important, a couple of things. I know you've just started your journey there, but we talk about this in like mentorship a lot, right? So someone that's very knowledgeable and clearly has been in the game a long time. And you hear two things out there. She talked about her husband's been trading 35 years and gave him praise. And then also talked about her mentor, the Fibonacci Queen, who was able to help her out there. You cannot say this enough. You're not going to do this on your own in trading. And one of the reasons I think the show has success is because if you're trading sitting there by yourself, it can be a lonely business, and you want to have someone to bounce ideas off of that you can learn from. Hopefully everyone gets a little bit of that. I don't know if we're supposed to only do it for 30 minutes or so, but it's already 4:30, as I've noticed. There used to be like a time thing that would come down here at Dara, but I just wanted to go back to, I know we had some earnings, and I just wanted to make sure everyone realized that this has happened. Carvana is up 42%. It's nonsensical. It's absurd. It doesn't mean that this is a great company, but 42% up. That 100 break went another $20. Now, this is clearly going to be on a lot of people's radar tomorrow for some follow-through. That is a ridiculous move.
That's nuts.
And it is sometimes really difficult to look at a stock that's up that much and structure trades. But that's what we're going to be here to do tomorrow morning like we do, as always, everybody. That's what it's all about here. That's the standout. I know, obviously, Carvana wasn't the only thing they're reporting here, but that's the one that caught my eye. I do want to get to, before we get into the roll call or anything like that, just one question for you today, because you were up today.
Thank you.
I just want to know, what was the number one stock? Because everyone saw my trades live. I just want to quickly see one thing that you were trading, if we can go through that.
Yeah, so my number one stock today, and honestly, I think probably the source of all, and maybe all of the gains I made today, was Pfizer. I took that Pfizer long off of that. We took the 27 break. I took it into high of days at the time, so I got in 26.58. And I talk a lot about how I like to have a very structured trade. I do not like to risk very much. We were risking into 26.53, so we were risking 5 pennies. I was trying to get that 26.65 break minimum because that was the flat top at the time. We took out half the position there. We saved the rest into 27.20. And what I want to say here as well, if I may, is because one thing we were talking about as well, and I really like what Tammy had to say about the board of directors while trading. I love this community, and I think I learned a lot from you and Shawn, Sharif, Brendan, and everyone, but also everyone in the chat. So someone in the chat, shout out to Passover Trade if you're still here, something along those lines. That trader mentioned Pfizer to me, and that was why I started looking at that. So that's the stock that would not have been in my radar if not for this community. So I do want to say a shout out to this community. I was really happy I was able to find that trade and manage it.
What's amazing about that is Pfizer's been a dog, but there's a lot of great breakout trades in there from a risk to reward standpoint, because it was breaking consolidations and shooting up. And if you got any outs into 27.20, I mean, I just want to make sure everyone saw the chart here, because 27.20 is up here. So like any way you cut it, I don't care where you got into the stock, if you're able to get it, holding an upward trend all day long. Obviously everything pulled back, but worth mentioning, you found something that didn't even pull back anywhere close to lows. So it might be worth looking at that stock again tomorrow, Derek. Shout out to you for that, because I wasn't even looking at Pfizer. And again, a post-earnings play, in play, great setup, great hold. I think it's fantastic. But you know what time it is. We're going to roll call it out, everybody. What up? And you know what? Let me start with this one right in here. Bears versus Bulls. First, not last. I didn't shout you out on the live show today. I know I talk to you every single morning before we go live, but we don't shout you out enough. The best moderator in the business. Renata, shout out to you. Chill Vibes, I see you in there. Saul G. 450K subs tomorrow. You better believe we need 450K subs. That's what it's all about. We appreciate you, Monty, Andrew Chow, Kurum E-Lover? That just got retracted. I didn't get a chance to see what you put in there. Keep it clean, everybody. Derek got in there as well. Caput electronic music producer. Shout out to you, Andrew Chow, Bora Hutt, Tammy again, Chill Vibes. Keep it chill, baby. That's what it's all about. Sebastian, Mark L, Fat Figure. Haven't seen you in a hot minute. I know we chat every single day, but haven't seen you in the afternoon. BJZ. We got Toko as well. D-Loaf. Oh, I hate to see. You know what? Let me stop there for a second. You were closed orders today. tomorrow's another day. We'll go back and get them. I was there. You know, I started out with some losing trades this morning as well. We're able to get it back and even had some not great trades in the afternoon, but it did end up positive, so we'll be happy about that. Shout out to you, S. Samuel, as well. Herb S., Cher E., AV, Joe Finero. We appreciate you all. Jeff Free as well. Silver in our pockets and not in our precipitation. We like it. I love the comments. We love it. It's such a great community. I can't say this enough. You know, the ability to not just have a bunch of people that, you know, we get to talk to on a daily basis and support us, even bounce ideas off of. It was really cool because I've said before, like I'll see someone mention a stock to me or a setup to me, and then it's like, oh yeah, something hits, and you're like, I wasn't gonna look at that, and then I did, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, that's a good trade. And I might not have gotten there if it wasn't for somebody else. And I can't say that enough. We're the best community out there because of you guys, the viewers. Let's get us to that 450,000 so we can put that in the rear view and get to 500,000, otherwise known as 500,000. So Adara, it's the first time I've got to host it with you.
This has been awesome, yeah.
Hopefully every single time we do the after show together, we can have something go up 43%. Shout out to anybody for any reason that might actually own Carvana shares. You definitely own the day and you've been printing. Tomorrow's another day. I can't promise you it's going to fill the gap or not fill the gap back in, but you know we will be back tomorrow. Carvana's going to be in play. Etsy, we had Qualcomm earnings. They were up for a little bit. DoorDash, not so good. Hopefully not taking Uber down too far with it because I think that could be a bit of a concern. But that is your roll call. That is your aftermarket show. Shout out to Adara for that fantastic trade in Pfizer. I think that's absolutely awesome. I wish I had looked at the stock. I'm not even lying to you. That's 100% genuine because I love that trend to the upside, and it was very, very clean. So for Shawn, I'm Neil. That's Adara. This is Trader TV Live. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Go Carvana. What the heck?